Hey guys, Ronin Reaper here. So, yep, you know the drill. I'm at the cinema. Very excited because I'm about to embark on an Easter double feature. Yeah, gonna head in and see two movies today. Two new releases over the weekend here in the UK: Kung Fu Panda 4 and Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Super hyped for Kong, especially because, big lizard, big monkey. Hell yeah. I had to mention the UK things, obviously. Panda opened in the States earlier in the month, staggered international rollout. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching both movies. Should hopefully be a good time. I'm not going to take up too much more time. I'm going to head in, get my snacks, get my seat, and embark on my Easter double feature. Popcorn here, I found it. Ready to witness the return of the Dragon Warrior. Skadoosh. So yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, like anyone my age, I obviously grew up loving the Kung Fu Panda movies, They've got the mythic, epic scale storytelling with, cool action, some wonderfully stylized visuals, but also some real moments of genuine emotion, and they're also pretty funny. So obviously I'd be looking forward to a new installment. Even if the trailer did prove to be kind of underwhelming, I still went in with an open mind, hoping to be pleasantly surprised. But is this a worthy installment? Let's find out. So, in the film, Po is still very much enjoying the celebrity that comes with being the Dragon Warrior until one day Master Shifu tells him that he is to become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace and is to pick his successor to be the Dragon Warrior. Now, obviously, Po is naturally not ready for such a responsibility, and so he heads out on one last Dragon Warrior adventure with a thief named Jen, and the two of them head out to Juniper City to put a stop to an evil sorceress known as the Chameleon, who has the ability to summon Poe's old adversaries from the spirit realm and harness their kung fu. So yeah, look, obviously when Puss in Boots: The Last Wish came out, I think a lot of us were expecting this, which had, fairly recently been announced, to follow in its vein, a dazzlingly animated, very mature, weighty story, a film that very much has grown up with the audience that grew up watching the original movies. And unfortunately, that is not the case here. Don't get me wrong, the film we have here is perfectly fine. It's a serviceable enough diversion that I think families will enjoy, but yeah, this is by far the weakest installment in the franchise and did not really need to be made. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a well-made film. The animation looks good, but obviously it's not like the dazzling stylized animation of The Last Wish, but yeah, it does its job very well. There's a certain level of texture and detail, and there's some fun little character designs. The sweeping landscapes look good, and there's some fun little trademark franchise stylistic flourishes which do look pretty cool. The action scenes are very fun. The kung fu martial arts choreography is just super energetic and fluid, and it is pretty fun to watch. The action scenes are very reliable in this franchise. And you got, once again, Hans Zimmer back doing the score. And obviously, he's a bit more of a jobber here compared to Dune 2, where, he's creating this vast soundscape that enriches the world of the film. There's none of that here, but yeah, he does a decent job. and there's some kind of funny jokes as well. There's some like slapsticky bits. There's a kind of funny semi-recurring gag of Poe's inner voices that is pretty funny, and there is a very funny subplot between Mr. Ping and Li Shen. The two of them are really funny. Like James Hong and Bryan Cranston do a great job, and there's plenty of funny moments with Jack Black as Poe. Once again, he is great. And yeah, there's some other good voice acting here as well. You got Kiwi Kwan as Han, the leader of this like criminal gang. He's pretty fun. And Viola Davis is very reliable as the chameleon. She's a very fun villain presence. But really, the weak link I'd say is Aquafina as Jen. Uh, because mainly because all I could hear whenever the character spoke was just Aquafina. Like, don't get me wrong, Poe and Jen's like bond is kind of fun to see unfold throughout the film, but yeah, every time this character spoke, it did kind of take me out of it a bit. And another thing that kind of lets this film down is that it's nowhere near as like emotional or mature as the previous films were. Where obviously Puss in Boots: The Last Wish grew up with its audience. This kind of doesn't, and instead, chases the current generation of young kids, which is a fine approach, and ultimately does lean a bit more broad, more slapsticky with Poe's antics. But it means that it's ultimately not as like emotional and resonant as this franchise has been in the past. And this like lack of witty, mature tone kind of extends to the villain. Yeah, Chameleon is kind of not much of a threat. They don't really do much with. Again, Viola Davis is great, but yeah, they could have done so much more with this character because like the power set and backstory is kind of cool, but ultimately, yeah, it doesn't really amount to much and is kind of the weakest villain in the franchise. And also, the return of the old villains is a bit of a nothing burger too. It's a shame because overall it is decent enough film, but yeah, it's my least favorite in the franchise and doesn't really justify its existence. Although I will say the Tenacious D Britney Spears cover in the credits was very funny. But overall, yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4, it is what it is. It's pretty fine, but yeah, 6 out of 10. So yeah, and now we head back to the cinema for the second part of the double feature, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Got my popcorn here, red frozen Fanta, closest color I could get to Godzilla's spikes in the movie. I need to watch the big lizard and the big monkey team up. So yeah, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Now look, I'm not exactly expecting Oscar-winning cinema from these MonsterVerse movies at this point. I'm just expecting, big, dumb as bricks, switch your brain off movies where you can watch big monsters hit each other and just have a good time. And obviously, that's exactly the mindset I went into this with because I enjoyed the previous film, Godzilla vs Kong, for that very reason. And obviously, I was expecting more of the same from this, especially since the same director, Adam Wingard, would be returning. But is the film a big, dumb, blockbuster spectacle it promises itself to be? Let's find out. So, in the film, it follows up pretty much exactly where the previous film left off. Godzilla rules the Earth, and Kong rules the Hollow Earth. And it pretty much stays that way, to risk a potential war between the Titans if the two, cross paths. And one day, and as soon a discovery is made, a signal coming from the Hollow Earth, which Monarch heads down to investigate, and they soon end up discovering a a hidden world beneath ours, and also that Kong is not the last of his kind, and a war with the Titans is potentially coming. So, look, there's obviously going to be a fair amount of reviews like comparing this to minus one, pretty unfairly because different strokes. But because let's be real, that movie was fantastic, but it's very much both a blessing and a curse because now like the first thing reviewers are going to do is just rush to compare to anything else, and and obviously rather than judge these movies on their merits, they're just gonna say, "Oh, well, this was shit because it was not minus one." And look, I went into this just expecting a big dumb switch your brain off blockbuster. Not like the thematic you know maturity of minus one. And you know what? That's exactly what I got. A big, dumb, switch your brain off movie. This is galactically stupid, and that is fully an endorsement. I had a real good time watching this. Like, this thing is a lot of fun. Right? Now, obviously, I have to point out, yes, it takes a little bit to get its footing, because we have to go through early on the human characters set up for why we're going along this monster adventure, and the human characters are as uninteresting as always. They're pretty one-dimensional. Dan Stevens innocent though. He is very funny as this monster vet called Trapper. He is super fun and has so many of the film's funniest moments. But the human characters are for the first time in the franchise, supporting characters. Yay! Yeah, the focus is very much on the monsters here. The biggest chunk of the screen time is the monsters. This is very much Kong's movie. And yeah, he's so incredibly expressive and just a wonderful primate protagonist who, obviously yes, he is a very soulful character, but yeah, he's no one's bitch, let's be real. There's some very fun scenes where he very much asserts his dominance. it's it's great stuff. We have new villain, the Scar King, and he's a proper dickhead who you you very much root against and want Kong to beat. And we also have this other new monster called Shimo, and there's other stuff in here as well that the marketing doesn't mention, so I will refrain from doing so as well. But yeah, because the focus is on the monsters, yeah, this thing has so much fun being stupid, so much, dumb stuff happens with little to no explanation, and you just kind of go with it. And of course, with this many monsters and, the Hollow Earth being the setting, there's a lot of CGI here. But major props to the visual effects team because, yeah, this movie looks great. The CGI is incredibly stellar throughout. The monsters look great and they're incredibly expressive. And the Hollow Earth as a location, incredibly striking and brilliantly colorful. And obviously all this monster on monster action, you get some really like big beefy fight scenes that you with some insane moments that you kind of can't help but laugh along with. It's just so utterly stupid and deranged that you kind of have a great time watching. At one point, there's an RKO. Like it's just so dumb and it's so brilliant. And yeah, Junkie XL does the score once again, and lends this big scale world and action with a certain level of weight. It's all great. Godzilla is kind of not in it as much as you would expect. expect. Like, he's basically a supporting role, a fairly small supporting role. It's really, this is Kong's movie, but considering Godzilla has first billing on the title, it is kind of weird. But, Godzilla very much serves his purpose, and there's plenty of fun scenes, especially towards the end, with a very fun dynamic with Kong. But yeah, really, they should have called this King Kong, the New Empire, Feet Godzilla. And it all builds to, a final act with exact level of, epic scale stupidity as you'd expect, an epic scale confrontation that is just so immensely satisfying. I've left with a huge grin on my face. Yeah, there's not much beneath the surface to this film, but god damn it, it's so big and dumb that you just kind of can't help but go along with it. And overall, yeah, Godzilla X Kong does exactly what you'd expect it to. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a great time. 7 out of 10. And yeah, that is my Easter cinema double feature. Let me know, have you seen these movies? What do you think of them? What's your favorite Kung Fu Panda? And what's your favorite MonsterVerse movie? And are you excited for for more Godzilla and Kong stuff? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to try and post notifications so you don't miss an upload.